Mom Squad. Diagnosis?
Mom Polar.
If you've missed any of the other videos, make sure to go back and check those out. And make sure to like and subscribe below.
I'm Carrie.
I'm Candace.
I'm Kendra.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Tabitha. I'll be your Mama-rator tonight. So before we get started, we have to make a big shout out to one of our moms. This one, because tomorrow is her birthday. Happy birthday! We love her. Okay.
We're not saying how old I am.
No, we won't tell the age.
I'll tell.
No, you're not telling because you're the youngest out of here, so that means everybody else is older.
29
And holding.
and holding.
No, I'm not. I'm pretty.
Did you say
Okay.
32?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Oh.
Okay.
She's not.
I've been 29 for 2 years.
Oh,
Actually, this will be my third year of being 29.
Lame. Okay.
Alright.
So our so that was lighthearted, but our topic tonight is actually a little bit more
Serious?
serious. So the topic tonight is coping. I forgot what it's called.
Coping with the unexpected.
Okay. You can cut that part out, right?
Yeah.
Coping with the unexpected. And really that just means, like, I think we've all had some things going on in our lives beyond our children and beyond our life with work and everything, our extended families. And so it kind of came to me earlier, we just need to have something like that. Like, how does a mom deal with first teaching their children how to cope with these certain things that are going on that they don't quite understand, and then how do you shift responsibilities to be able to be there for your family or for your friends that are going through things that can't be controlled. The biggest example right now is my aunt is in the hospital from my dad's side, and we're not really close, but when I was growing up she definitely was a big part of my life, and it's really kind of a hard situation for me to come back and say, oh, we got to rush to the hospital when everybody's telling me, oh, just hang tight, we'll tell you when to come, and that kind of thing. And then I have to explain it to my kids, because my kids, they're older, and they understand things, but at the same time it's like they didn't know her that well, but they're there for me. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's what we're kind of going through. And just as a mom, how do you shift your life to be able, because moms today are hugely busy with practices and work and life and this
YouTube
and that.
channels.
YouTube channels. So it comes to a point where you have to halt, look back, and find ways to shift around to be able to be there for your family.
Well, I think something that, we as moms, this is one of those things no one ever told you growing up,
Yeah.
right? Because when you're a child and you go from only thinking about me, and
Mm-hmm.
truthfully, the first time you stop thinking about me is when you have a kid, right? And so now you have these kids, and there are things that I just think you didn't think about when you were a kid,
Right.
like parents getting sick, grandparents getting sick, aunts and uncles getting sick, and having to take time away to do that, and
Right.
there are situations in our lives that we feel completely helpless
Mm-hmm.
and completely I don't know the word I'm looking
Vulnerable.
for. Yeah. And for the three of us
Yeah.
right now, our grandparents live about 8 hours away from us, and they're getting older, and they need help with certain things.
They would never admit that.
They would never admit that. But like a few weeks ago, Carrie and I drove down. Sorry, Candace.
Drove up.
totally,
We
drove
drove
up. Well, listen, you don't have to correct me. These people don't know where we're We drove up, and just to take them an hour away for a 50th anniversary party. I mean, we just drove to drive them.
Yeah, we left on a
Through town.
Friday and came back on a Sunday.
And now it's getting to the point that they need that more and more and more, and it sucks.
It
Yeah.
sucks, and it's hard because it's like we want to be there so bad for them because they're our family, and we are supposed to take care of them. But
And we
we're
love
all-
them and we want
yes,
to.
Yeah.
Yes,
But we have responsibilities.
but we have responsibilities
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
and because it's like, I was talking to Caitlin, and I'm like, you know, like, well, I guess who's gonna have to quit their job and just, you know, but we have families. We
Yeah.
can't just uproot.
And that was,
you know,
Ryan's first response to me was, do you need to quit your new job and go take care of them? And I said, no, it's not my job holding me back. It's my 4 kids. It's my farm. It's my
It's everything
husband.
else.
It's my,
Yeah.
I have a life here and I
Right.
can't just drop it.
Drop it all
And
go.
those are things as moms that, like, how do you deal with that? How do you,
Like, it gets heavy.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And my thing too with all of it is, I can remember, this is not even about my aunt, this is about my grandma. I can remember my grandma as like fun, a lively, feisty little woman. My kids haven't gotten to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I always feel like bad. I'm like, oh, I can remember going and getting a Happy Meal with my grandma
Yeah.
and her stopping in the middle of the road to get to a yard sale or something, and you, okay. But I mean, like, these little things that I just kind of maybe took for granted as a kid,
Yeah.
that I'm like, oh. So the biggest thing that I feel bad for my kids is they don't get to see or get to be a part of that life that I had with my grandma, because like I loved spending time with my grandma, and for the most part, Mackenzie got a few good years in, but Jay never got to see her that way. He
Yeah.
always got to see her as in the home or.
But at the same time, though, they get to experience their
Their-
grandparents.
Yes.
So, like, when their kids come
Yeah.
about, you know, and you're gonna be like,
Yeah.
oh, they're gonna be like, oh, my kids didn't get to see my grandma the way.
Yeah.
And because I think about the same thing. Like, I feel like I missed out on my great grandparents. Like, I didn't get. So then
Yeah.
I think that too with my kids.
But you
Yeah.
know, Allie,
Too far down.
Allie, you know, she is very young right now,
Mhm.
and my father-in-law passed away back in January, and he had dementia, and I only knew him as Dawn with dementia, you know, and so
Okay.
Jeff tells these stories, and I'm just like, I so wish that I could have
I could see
seen
that, yeah.
him as that. But even that, just in the past 7 years, I saw how he digressed so quickly and stuff. And of course, Allie, you know, was only less than a year and a half old when he passed away, and she never got to really have that connection with him. But it's so funny because we have one particular picture, and she was such a crazy kid. She was very particular about who she went
She's
to.
still like that.
Yeah, well, she was even worse. But she had climbed up in his lap and just sat there with him, and I have the sweetest picture of him and her. And it every time, like, she wants my husband's phone, and she says, "Grandma, I want to see Grandma," and so he'll flip it to, you know, his mom, and then but she'll swipe through the photos, and she will point to Grandpa, and she goes, "That's my grandpa," you know, which is, yes, it's so sad, but it's so sweet at the same time. And like,
Yeah.
you know, she will always have those pictures, and Jeff and I will always be able to share those memories with her,
Yeah.
and it's just like those moments, you know, they will live on through our memories.
Through
And
forever.
so, like, I feel like she will be able to know who her grandpa was, you know, through me and Jeff.
And
the
that
same
picture, because
Yes.
a picture lasts forever,
Yes.
and just
Says
seeing
1,000 words.
Yes, and the same thing with our grandpa, who passed
mhm.
away, you know, several years ago and stuff like that, that our kids never got to experience, and the jokes that he told, and
yeah,
you know, all the
bad jokes.
yeah,
Yes.
he
Yes.
was
He was the king of the corny jokes.
Yes, and
Yeah.
yeah, but his legacy will always live through us.
So we were talking at dinner last night about spiritual stuff, and
Oh, that kind
the
of
whole
spiritual stuff.
grandparent thing. You know, your story with Emmy.
Mhm.
That's like the biggest thing, because then I was thinking about it. I was like, when I got pregnant with Jay, my stepdad had passed a week before,
Mhm.
and so when he was growing up, he would be sitting talking to the wall. And I'm like, who are you talking to? He's like, oh, I'm talking to Papa. You know, like it was nothing. And I'm like,
What?
and we have no papas alive. Like, my father's passed, my stepfather's passed. So he just like have full conversations, and like sometimes it would scare my mom, because
Mhm.
he'd be like, Papa said you need to stop smoking, and she'd be like, oh my gosh, you know. So
And sometimes I think we need to have those things that we hold, like, to keep us sane and to keep us
For
connected.
ourselves.
You know, so my story that I'll share is that
I'll share it now that I've
when Emmy was when she was born, she had a birthmark on her forehead, and for every single one of my kids, I pray that they didn't have any marks on their face. Like, anywhere else in the body's fine, Lord, but don't let them have a mark on their face. So Emmy comes out with this birthmark, and I was ticked, and I was like, really? And
Actually, you said she'll never be a model.
there goes her modeling career. But one night I had a dream, and it was my first dream about my grandpa since he had died, and at that point it had been 8 years or so. It's been 8 years now.
I was gonna say it was not 8 years.
Whatever.
So like 6.
He'd been gone for a while, and it was my first dream I'd ever had about him. And he walks into the room and picks her up, and he kisses her on the forehead, and he hands her back to me and walks out of the room. And I'm just kind of like, what? You know, I woke up and I was like, you didn't even talk to him, you didn't say hi to him, you didn't ask him if he was okay, you didn't even get to hear his voice. Why didn't you speak up and say something to him? And then I went to go get Emmy out of her crib, and I was like, wow, that's cool. That's the exact place that my grandpa kissed her in my dream, was where that birthmark is. And as she's grown, her birthmark has turned into a T, which was his last name, and it's creepy how identical his handwriting to the T and her forehead is. I mean, it's creepy.
Cool.
It is cool. But she talks all the time about how, you know, we talk. This is a story I tell her every night, that great grandpa kissed her before she came to me in heaven. You know, that she was in heaven, and great grandpa kissed her, and she loves that story, and she tells it all the time. And
That's sweet. So, I mean, I think that him being gone for so long and her getting that kind of a connection,
right.
it says something.
Like I said, it could be a connection that I've
needed.
needed
Yeah.
and I brought on myself. I'm not saying it really happened or it's a real connection or anything like that, but it's something that I hold very, very, very dear to me. Every time I see that birthmark, I have that
Think of that.
vision now of him walking into the room and
Aw.
kissing my baby. And because it was sad, it was the first baby I had
After.
that he wasn't there for.
Yeah. So, Kendra, how do you handle teaching your kids to cope with the sickness and the loss? Have you had to deal with that yet, or?
I have. Yes.
So how did you? Because your kids are pretty well rounded individuals.
It was when Kylie was in kindergarten. Her grandmother passed, and it was very hard on our family.
Yeah.
Very hard. It was hard on her. It was just hard. It was hard on Breland because she was the one that took care of her.
So what did you do? Did you have to like sit them down and talk to them, and this is a natural thing of life, or were you just like let them?
I guess you guys helped a lot. Like Carrie took my kids for me, so I could go to ICU and be there for my husband. And I didn't really want to scare my kids, so I never brought them in there.
Mhm.
And I wish I did. That's one thing I wish I did because they
So
don't
they say
understand.
hello. Yeah. they
Like
don't get it.
when we went to go visit Carrie in the hospital when she had Allie, they were crying because they didn't want to go in because they think it's
Scared.
death.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they won't see whoever comes into the hospital again. So I wish I would have explained that a little more,
Mhm.
but I wanted to, at the time, I wanted to protect
Protect
them.
them. Yeah.
Sure.
Because there was machines and she was frozen and they de-thawed her and it was just a lot
It's a-
going
A
on.
lot of weird stuff.
Yeah,
And it's
and
not the way they remember
Yeah.
her,
Yeah.
know her of her.
right. But if I showed but if I showed that to them, then they could see her being sick. It wasn't just because
She went to the hospital.
yeah,
Yeah.
she went to
Yes.
hospital.
Yeah.
And so that's one of my regrets. Breland took it really hard. It took
She
her
was little.
She was little. She was about 17 months old, and Oma would watch her a lot, and so she would carry a picture of her, and she would kiss her, and she would just carry it. Like we let her carry it around the house, and she would kiss
Cry.
it and hug it. She would put it on the couch with her. Yeah, it was very
hard.
traumatic for our
Yeah.
family.
But the girls are close with Grandpa.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're grandpa's girls
Yeah.
now, and they'll.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, they talk about her. Remember when she cooked this, and remember when she cooked that, and Oma speaks German, and I'm gonna speak German one day. And so I mean,
Yeah. It's a hard thing to
Yeah.
try to, like, you want to protect them.
Yes.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
you want them
Mhm.
to kind of deal. And, like, in our household, like, I let things kind of happen organically. You know, like, emotions and that kind of thing. I mean, I am a helicopter mom at times. But for, like, certain things, I let just kind of flow. And so, when my stepdad died, Kenzie was young. And I remember thinking, I cannot let her know this. Like, even when he went to the hospital, I made sure to, like, keep her away until he asked for her. And he's like, can I just say hey? And I was like, oh, I don't want her to see you like this.
Yeah.
But I did. She came in, and, you know, they had the best conversation. She laid with him in his bed, and he made jokes about everybody like he always did, and, you know, he loved her. That was his only, like, grandchild that he knew. And so it was really hard for me because I was like, but then again, I knew that it was the right thing at the time because he got that time.
Yeah. And the thing
kinda think
is
about
like, you know, you're afraid that your child is going to remember them like that,
Yeah.
but that's not what they remember.
No.
You know, they will probably remember, yes, going to the hospital, seeing them sick, but that's not what they're going to, when they're going to talk about their grandparents
Right,
or
it's not
whatever,
that.
they're going to be talking about the memories that they had with them.
Right.
And, you know, so, because I think even with our grandpa, like, I think of my grandpa, like, I don't, you know, he spent a lot of time in the hospital, and the last time I ever saw him was in a hospital bed.
Was he still cracking jokes?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
But you remember that cracking joke
Yes.
thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't
know,
remember
yeah.
the harshness.
Yes,
of
I
what
remember,
happened.
you know, dollar pancakes and jokes and, you know, him
Growing
making
up in the morning, he'd go, "Morning, Glory," and we were all like, "Grandpa, my name's not Glory." Like, we all would
him
get.
and
so
his
mad.
suspenders and
Oh,
I
He
took him
sounds like
I
a
took him
hunk,
to the
'cause
beach
I love
one
a man
time.
in a suspender.
I took him to the beach one time and he came in his suspenders and his church pants. he rolled up his church pants, and to the day that he died, he had sun poisoning from that day.
Oh
Like it scarred his legs from
Oh, I
where.
didn't know that.
You don't remember that? It was just me and my friend. We went to Florida for spring break. And
took your grandpa?
he took us our last day there. He was like, "I'll take you," and he didn't put on sunscreen, and he went and rolled up his pant legs, and he only had one leg
Oh, that's okay.
to the day he died. But
I love it.
still,
It would have been.
To the day he died.
on the day he died, he only had one leg.
Yeah, you said to the day he died.
Going back for a second. But no, so yeah, it's good that they get to remember the good sides. And
Yeah.
now that Kenzie's much older, she has taken a big interest in him and has actually acquired many of his clothing pieces, like his shirts and because she likes old shirts and stuff. And so it's just like a part of them
Yeah.
still kind of connected. And she can still tell you any Harley that comes through what it is because of him. And so it's just hard to figure out, like, how much do you push your child to know, to cope, to be able, and I think it does come with age. I think it's an age thing. Like, you're not going to tell Allie, oh,
Right.
he's sick, he died. You know,
Right.
you're going to have to, like, ease that in. For my kids, I can be like, oh, here's what happened. And my kids are like, oh, that's awful. You know, like,
They
So,
understand.
yeah, they get it. They understand. But they've actually, I don't think, ever been to a real funeral.
Really?
Because they didn't even come to my, I didn't let her go to my stepdad's because it was just too,
I was gonna let Allie come to my father-in-law's, but she ended up with the flu,
yeah.
so she couldn't go. But I had taken her a couple weeks ago to a receiving. I was with my parents and they had to go to receiving, so I was like, I'll go with you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an open casket, and
I can't.
there was like a long line, right, to get to the family. And so she was just it was late, she was hungry, and so she was just being crazy. And we finally get up to like where the casket is, and my mom was holding her, and she just stopped dead in her tracks, and she just goes,
Done.
like, it was like, what do you do? Like,
Yeah.
how do you approach? I mean, she's 2, you know, like,
How
what do
say
you?
it?
And so
Why
mom,
are we all watching this man
and,
sleep?
and yeah, well then she looks at my mom and she goes, he's sleeping? And mom's like, yes, he's sleeping.
For a long time.
She was just, it was so
Yeah.
weird for her. And I didn't,
It didn't.
right, but
connect.
I thought she's 2, she's not gonna understand at all. But she
understands
knew like something was different.
Yeah.
Like she knew something was different.
Yeah. So I'd never done funerals either.
Mhm.
And one of my biggest thing was the fact that I missed my dad's funeral because my mom decided to go do something else. And so we were pulling in as everybody was pulling out of my dad's funeral. And so that kind of hit me hard. And so after that, I was just like, I mean, I was 8. I needed that in my life. I needed to be able to,
That closure.
Grieve that.
yeah. So I didn't get that. But I make sure that my kids are always knowledgeable. Does that make sense? Like, I hate to say that, like, it sounds cold, but I don't want them to grow up and not be able to express that morning that they are gonna have. So
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, life is unexpected,
it is.
and you're never, you're gonna deal with something, with an illness.
Well, and I think, one thing to keep in mind is you will have regrets no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Like
had you taken the girls, you would have found something else to have a regret about.
Mhm.
I have regrets about
I have regrets.
a lot of
Yeah.
the deaths that we've dealt with.
Yeah.
You just do.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
will always find something. So don't beat yourself up about
Yeah.
those regrets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you do what's best for your kid in that
What you
moment.
think at that time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any kind of like comments or stories or suggestions on how to deal with coping with things like that as a mom for your children, put it down below. If you have questions, put them down below. We want to know. We want to be able to talk to you about all this stuff as well. I think that wraps us up. So thank you for watching #Mom Squad Diagnosis
Mom Polar.
And make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Bye.